others wishing to speak to the throne speech? I see the Honourable Member for Calgary-Varsity, the Minister for Labour and Immigration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is truly a privilege to be here. I am awed and humbled by this place, its storied history, the ability to positively impact the lives of so many Albertans, its conventions and traditions. Although I have to admit, Mr. Speaker, even though I agree with it, I'm still trying to find the reference to the $100 donation to your charity of choice for violating the cell phone rules and the standing orders. Mr. Speaker, I am sure I echoed the sentiments of many of my colleagues. It is such a gift to be able to serve, but also a tremendous responsibility. I feel this each time I walk into this building. I am thankful that this place, with its marbled columns, stained glass windows, and ornate details, all of this serves as a constant reminder of how fortunate we are to be here and the responsibility we bear in the days to come. With that in mind, I would like to thank the residents of Calgary-Varsity for having faith in me to represent them in this chamber. And I'd also like to thank the Premier for giving me the opportunity to serve all Albertans as a member of government. I recognize what an honor and responsibility this is, and I will serve to the best of my ability. Mr. Speaker, in my remarks this afternoon, in responding to the speech from the throne, I would like to thank some of the people who brought me to this place, talk about the issues and dreams of the people who live in Calgary-Varsity, and share my excitement in working with my colleagues in this chamber to improve the lives of Albertans. First, I would like to thank my parents. I was born in Toronto. Wait, that said, I was saved at an early age. My family moved to Alberta when my twin sister and I were 4 years old. My parents, John and Penny, like so many, wanted to move to Alberta to seek greater opportunities for themselves and their children. They sought out the vast prairie sky and Rocky Mountains, the entrepreneurial spirit that lives here, and the freedom to live life on their own terms. I was fortunate to grow up in Calgary and on a small ranch near Water Valley, Alberta. From my father, an industrial electrician, rancher, and entrepreneur, I learned about hard work, planning, and above all, safety. I have been doing pre-work safety briefings since I was 8 years old, even before they called them safety briefings. And from my mother, a school teacher, guidance counselor, and lifelong learner, from my mother, a school teacher, guidance counselor, and lifelong learner, I learned compassion, dedication, and the love of ideas. It was they who sparked for me an interest in politics. Growing up, we would often have conversations around the kitchen table concerning issues of the day. My parents both played a huge part in how I view the world and the values I hold. From my father, and I quote, "You can't take more out of a pot than you put into it." As you could probably tell, he has a very strong aversion to deficit financing, and he is a tremendous fan of King Ralph. From my mother, and I am paraphrasing, politics is about people. As a society, we've decided to pool our resources to ensure that all children can get a good education, anyone who is sick can see a doctor, and those who need help can find it. Government is our government. It is us, and we need to take responsibility for it. Thank you to both of my parents for their love and guidance. Second, I would like to thank the many mentors and colleagues who helped me on my journey throughout my education and career. This interest in politics, instilled by my parents, prompted me to do my first degree in political science. One might ask, what do you do with a poli-sci degree once you graduate? That's a very good question. Well, one answer is that you move to Ottawa and apply theory to practice. And one of my first jobs after graduating was working for the Honourable Harvey Andre, Member of Parliament for Calgary Centre and Government House Leader. For those that may have known him, Harvey was a tremendous leader and extraordinarily hardworking. Although I learned a great deal concerning the political process, there were three main lessons that I took away from my time in Ottawa. First, you can make a difference. By working with others and working hard, you can make positive change in politics. Second, although sometimes difficult, it is possible to maintain your values. Always act with integrity and remember that you were there to serve. And Harvey demonstrated this for over nearly 20 years in Ottawa. And finally, if you wish to represent your fellow citizens, you should understand what they are thinking and have experience, skills, and ideas to offer. With these lessons in mind, I left the world of politics. I completed a master's degree in industrial relations at Queen's and started a career in the business world in labor relations and human resources. I had the tremendous opportunity to work with one of Canada's great companies, Canadian Pacific Railway, for just under 20 years, and then I started my own business consulting. I also had the privilege to teach at two of our great schools in our province, the Schools of Business at the University of Calgary and the University of Lethbridge. And over this time, I worked with and taught a number of truly remarkable people. There are too many to recognize, Mr. Speaker. Suffice to say that they included business colleagues and partners, union leaders, university professors, a number of my students, government officials, and community leaders. Although this group of individuals had very differing views, they shared common traits. They were dedicated to something greater than themselves, they were thoughtful, and they strived to make this world a better place. In working with each of them, they showed me that through hard work and dialogue, you can find greater solutions, and I thank them all. And third, I would like to thank my wife and children. While working with CP, I met my wife, Marion, who worked here at the legislature for one of her first jobs following graduation from her first degree. A second-generation Ukrainian, I soon joined through marriage the vast Alberta Ukrainian community, where once Holopchi, Pedoha, and Nalesnica were simply foreign words, they are now common household dishes, and sometimes not common enough. We have been blessed with three girls, Katiana, Genovia, and Natalia. And as many of this chamber know better than I, this role truly is a family affair. We cannot do it alone, and I would like to thank my wife and children for their love and support. And finally, I would like to thank the constituents of Calgary-Varsity, and in particular, two former Calgary-Varsity MLAs, Donna Kennedy-Glanz and Murray Smith. Nearly 10 years ago, my wife and I moved to Varsity. In our humble opinion, and according to Avenue magazine for over a decade, one of the top neighborhoods in Calgary. And Calgary-Varsity is a riding like no other. The beautiful trees that create vast canopies over the streets are as multi-generational as the people who like to walk down the sidewalks underneath them. It's rare and amazing to find a community where you can go for an evening stroll, as we often do, and be greeted by seniors and students, children's, parents, and pets. It is truly an area that reflects the vast diversity of the province we live in. Varsity, once considered an outlying suburb, is now inner city, a hub for ideas, community, and vibrancy. And this is in no small part due to its namesake, the University of Calgary. This institution that has made its mark not only here in Alberta, but nationally and internationally. It is a blessing to have access to such high-caliber education that attracts the best and brightest right into the heart of our constituency. I would imagine that there are a few U of C dinos in this very chamber. In addition to the university, Calgary-Varsity is also home to the Children's Hospital, Foothills Campus, numerous primary schools, and strong and resilient community associations. Whether you live in Varsity, Silver Springs, Brentwood, Banff Trail, University Heights, St. Andrews Heights, Parkdale, or Charleswood, you are part of a larger community that celebrates family, belonging, teamwork, and community. And whether it be picnicking by the river, playing Frisbee in Beaumont Park, or sharing ideas with old and new friends at the local coffee shops, a sense of belonging and friendship is reflected in our constituency. And over the years, Calgary-Varsity has been ably represented by praiseworthy MLAs who still live in the riding today. Murray Smith represented Calgary-Varsity between 1993 and 2004. Murray served as a cabinet minister in a number of portfolios, including labor, economic development and tourism, and energy. And as part of the Klein government, he helped to restore balance to our budget while at the same time rebuilding our economy, and was re-elected in his final term with a significant majority. Donna Kennedy-Glanz represented Calgary-Varsity between 2012 and 2015. Donna chaired the All-Party Standing Committee on Resource Stewardship and was the Associate Minister of Energy and Electricity and Renewable Resources. I recall one evening during her nomination, Donna showed up at my door in Varsity. Her passion, dedication, and thoughtfulness reignited my love for politics. And not only did I become her supporter, I became extremely active in local politics again. And although both Murray and Donna are very different people, they share a number of common traits and views. They are both thoughtful and resourceful, willing to engage in conversation about ideas, and were focused on representing the interests of constituents of Calgary-Varsity. I would like to thank them both for their dedication, service, and especially their advice. And lastly, I would like to thank the residents of Calgary-Varsity. Over the last 10 months, I was honored to meet literally thousands of Calgary-Varsity residents that opened their doors for me, and it was particularly helpful when it was minus 29, and each shared what they loved about our neighborhood, their concerns, hopes, and ideas for the future. And although I am not certain why, and perhaps it is the influence of the University of Calgary, residents of Calgary-Varsity are incredibly engaged in politics, care deeply about the issues confronting them and their families. Many have participated in policy conversations on the economy, healthcare, and education, and want to seek solutions. At the doors, in coffee shops, and in community halls, Calgary-Varsity residents engaged in conversations and presented ideas facing our province today. And what did I hear? I heard a deep concern about jobs in the economy. I met unemployed and underemployed geologists who had lost their jobs in 2016 and had yet to find full-time work. I met university students on the cusp of graduating who were having difficulty finding jobs here in Alberta and were having to leave the province to find work or go back to school to do another degree. I met tradespeople who had lost their jobs in the oil patch. One individual in particular who had started his own business after losing his job and unable to make a go of it was on the brink of bankruptcy. With tears in his eyes, he shared with me that he did everything right. He went to school. He got his certificate. He worked hard and paid off his loan. When he lost his job in the patch, he started his own company, but there was not enough work. He was losing his business, his house, and he did not know what to do to support his family. His message was that we as government needed to fix the economy and bring jobs back to Alberta. I heard concerns about growing debt and taxes. Young families and seniors alike commented on the increased cost of living caused by growing taxes and the burdens that we were shifting to future generations, given that we are living beyond our means. I heard about our healthcare and education systems. As already mentioned, Calgary-Varsity includes a number of great institutions, including the U of C, Children's Hospital, Foothills Medical Center, and a number of public and private schools. We have a large number of people who work in education and healthcare, and they care deeply about the services they provide and want to see them improved. And although there's a recognition that we need to get spending under control, there's a desire that we do this in a way that maintains and even improves frontline services. And we need innovative thinking and new approaches in solving this. How can we do this? One approach is that we engage frontline workers in finding ways to improve services, manage costs, and make these jobs good jobs so we can continue to attract good people to provide these services. I heard about our need to protect the most vulnerable in our society. The role of government is to ensure that those who need assistance can find it. All Albertans, regardless of who they love, to whom they pray, or their ethnic origins, must be respected and included. What counts is the character of the person. And finally, I heard a desire to move away from the politics of division, the politics of personal attacks. Instead, we as elected representatives and community leaders should focus on ideas and solutions, and above all, represent the views of all our constituents. In summary, Mr. Speaker, the constituents of Calgary-Varsity are looking for a policy agenda that will create jobs and rebuild the economy, reduce taxes, improve our healthcare and education systems while at the same time managing our budget, protect the most vulnerable in our society, and do this in a way that is respectful and represents the views of all of our constituents. And I believe our government is well on its way to addressing the issues put forth by my constituents. With Bill 1, 2, 3, and 4 already introduced and 1 already passed, we have shown that we are ready to create jobs and rebuild the economy. More legislation to create opportunity for Albertans is yet to come. I have had the pleasure of introducing will have the pleasure of introducing the Fair Access to Regulated Professions and Trades Act, making it easier and fairer for newcomers to be credentialed in the professions, work at their skill level, and contribute to our shared prosperity. To help those most vulnerable, we will introduce the Saving the Girl Next Door Act and table legislation to give effect to Clare's Law, which will protect victims of human trafficking and domestic violence. And finally, we have already improved decorum and respect in this chamber by making changes to the standing orders. Lastly, we will focus tirelessly on balancing the budget over the course of the next 4 years. In doing this, we will protect frontline resources. In making this commitment, I must reiterate, this is not just about saving money. This is about ensuring that we as a province have the ability to fund those items that are important to us, healthcare, education, social services, over the long term, and not spending millions or billions on debt servicing costs. These are just a few examples I will proudly provide to my constituents when I am asked how we are responding to their concerns, and there is much more to come. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank you again for the opportunity to speak to the Chamber. I commit to work with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to find the best solutions for Albertans. Although we may not always agree on the best path forward,